Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 248, Furious 7, Lap 11. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe 2, and this episode's brought to you by Wonderbly, where you can get your personalized edition of The Birthday Thief, a stupendous personalized birthday story that magically changes based on your child's birth date. Huzzah! Shout out to Wonderbly.
Well, shout out to Wonderbly and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we will be talking about Jasmine's birthday in Furious 7.
Yes.
We are Too Fast, Too Forever. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
Really nothing much. I've been kind of busy getting a bunch of work stuff done. Even though it's summer, it was kind of end of the quarter, so a bunch of companies had things that they wanted us to order, and I ordered all of them, so I've been really replacing a ton of equipment and stuff, and that's just been a pain. Then I come home and just watch a ton of Breaking Bad. We're through season 5, episode 5 or 6 now.
Breaking Bad or Saul?
Better Call Saul, sorry. Better Call Saul. How many episodes? I know that there was one, last night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what number was that, and how many are there going to be, do you know?
I think there's 10 out so far, and there's going to be 14 in total.
Okay, so I got a month, essentially.
Yeah. I think mid-August-ish is when it's going to end.
Okay, so I'm going to catch up. I'll definitely catch up before the end, so I'm excited for that. But that's pretty much all we've been doing. It's gotten to a really good point, because you've been actually watching. I'm just excited to keep watching that. And then Love Island starts tonight, and that's an hour a night for
5 nights a week or something. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 nights a week essentially. So that's what I plan on being up to.
That's Love Island US, right? Because there's Love Island UK that's been going on for a while, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch US. They changed things. It's on Peacock now. That's pretty much it, though. Nothing super crazy. What have you been up to, bud?
So this weekend we did a lot of Lottery Pod because we had two author interviews on Sunday. So Bob and I talked to Adam Levin, who wrote the book that Bob thinks that this book, The Instructions, which I think is also great, but he thinks he's on record on the podcast as saying that there's been no better book come out since this book was written. So the guy who wrote that, he has a new book that came out or is coming out in August that we got early copies of and we read.
Oh, cool. How was it? Was it good?
It's really good. It's not as good as The Instructions, but it's really good. We had a really good conversation. So Bob came up on Saturday and we recorded the actual episode about that. And then he came up again on Sunday and we interviewed the author of that. And then we interviewed the author of this book, Literally Show Me a Healthy Person, this woman, Darcy Wilder, and they were both great. So those will both be out in August because the Lottery Pod is every other week. But when we interview the author, we drop that in the off week. And so I think we're on a streak of 5 books in a row where we've talked to the author, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool.
So the first 4 this season, the last one last season. So
are you going to line up the one with the guy's book coming out?
Yeah, it comes out on a Tuesday, and our episode comes out on Thursday, and then the interview the following week. Yes. So,
perfect. Awesome.
That was this weekend. I'm trying to think if there's anything else of real note that I did. I don't think so. We did a bonus episode of this very show.
We did.
Out now for the patrons about Catch That Kid, the Kristen Stewart film. So check that out with Brian Late Night Slumber Party Rodriguez, only on the Patreon, only on TooFastTooForever.com.
Which also had way too many Fast and the Furious connections for no reason. Yeah, but it was fun to see Kristen Stewart be a very, very small girl. Did we talk about this? Came out after Panic Room or before? After.
It came out after. We talked about that briefly in the episode, yes. So that came out in 2002, and this is 2004, but this was her first leading role. So if you want to check that out, TooFastTooForever.com, even $1 a month gets you in the door. Been reading and watching things. If I watched anything good of note, let me take a look back. Rewatched Death Spa, which is great. I finished Miss Marvel, which is pretty good. I think Miss Marvel, it starts better than I think it ends, because it sort of gets a little Marvel-y, but I think it's less Marvel-y than other stuff that they've come out this year, so I think it's pretty good overall. And I think that's really kind of it.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a weird weekend. It's just hot here. I mean, it's hot everywhere, but...
Yeah. We're recording a day earlier than normal because I thought I might go to a concert tomorrow night, and I'm not, so there's nothing to talk about, but we have one less day of, activities to talk about. But yeah,
exactly.
It's hot.
Yeah, I've just been laying low, man. Just I really didn't think I don't even know if I left the house this weekend. Like, I was just, like, chilling, not doing projects, recovering from the painting stuff. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we have an email address, family@cageclub.me. There's no emails, but if you want to email in, please do that. We'll read on the next episode. But we also have the Patreon page, the aforementioned Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. So shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, and Ryan Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party. Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sports, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. Again, if you want your name said on every episode or included in the episode description, go to toofast2forever.com and join over there. There is one thing that was shared with us on Twitter, but Joe, on the streets, is there news about the Fast and Furious? Anything you have seen of note in the last week about the franchise?
It might be the same thing that you're about to talk about on Twitter. Is it the picture from Twitter, from the set?
Well, there's been a lot of set pictures. Like, there was a thing that I think it was from, like, Comic Book Report or something, that was just like, Brie Larson shares a new photo for Vin Diesel's because of Vin Diesel's birthday, and so people are like, hey, happy birthday, Vin. And it's just like the two of them, like, laughing on set. It's like, this isn't, like, there's nothing, like, if you saw that, be like, I don't even know if they're on a set. Like, it just looks like they're having a good time. It's just like, okay, but, you know.
Jordana Brewster had, like, a picture about Vin Diesel's birthday being, like, Big Brother, and she was, like, very pro-Vin in it, so that was kind of interesting to see based on, like, you know, how much we've seen, like, The Rock be grumpy.
I think if people who are still around are pro-Vin.
Yeah, I would guess so, right? But at the same time, like, you don't see, like, Ludacris be like, oh my god, Vin, first part. Maybe he did. I just missed it. I don't know.
Vin Diesel and Ludacris call Fast X a mix of sacrifices and miracles. So, I mean, they're talking about it. I just, you know, I don't know. Who knows?
Okay, but the thing on Twitter that Reaction Rocket brought to our attention, right? Mm-hmm. Is this what you're going to talk about? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a set picture of a car that looks very DeLorean-esque.
It does. It looks like, well, there's like rockets or like tubing on the sides and in the back. And this is from T'Challa Stan at KamikJO3 on Twitter. Seen on the set of Fast X, WTF, are they cooking? And so Reaction Rocket said, just as the crew going to space was once a joke that became a reality, speculation is starting to grow that the plot of Fast X might actually involve time travel. If true, how would you guys feel about this? And then he responded to his own tweet and said, flashback or time travel. And there's a pair of Dodge Chargers, like the ones from Fast 5, now in F10. So I'm wondering, with, you know, Chad Lindbergh joining and these cars maybe coming back, like, who knows what's going on?
But we don't know that Chad Lindbergh actually joined. But yes, but now, you know, you see that car, you see Chad Lindbergh's post, and you're like, maybe they are doing, like, a time travel back in time to, like, revive, rescue Jesse. That makes sense. That they could, like, fully explain Han coming back to, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, if Endgame did it, they can do it, right?
How do you feel about it?
So I feel like the going to outer space is crazy, but also kind of like they figured out a way to like make it sort of plausible. Time travel is scientifically impossible, right? So
I don't know.
This is gonna, if it was possible ever, it will be possible now, by the very nature of time travel.
No.
If it was available in the future, someone could have come back to now and given us the technology. So like we would know that it's real if it was ever going to be real.
Why would they elucidate themselves, though? Like, why would they come out and say, like, oh, I invented time travel?
Why would you not?
Because you could go back and, like, do whatever you wanted and not get in trouble. And, like, you could go just, you know.
got too debaucherous of a mind. You got dogs in German that you want to have sick on people. You want to keep time travel all to yourself. These last couple episodes have really revealed the true Joe 2 behind the public Joe 2.
Hey, man, if I invented time travel, I wouldn't tell shit. I really wouldn't. I would go back and just, like, plot to make me have generational wealth from my great-great-great-great
So you'd be
ancestors.
selfish.
I mean, what else am I going to do?
I don't know, use it to fix anything or try to... the other thing about time travel is that you wind up breaking things. Like, if you try to do generational wealth or whatever, you know, you would probably make things worse for you in some way.
Yeah, probably true.
It's a real monkey's paw situation.
See, Joey, so you want to go back and just disturb time, and I'm trying to, you know, help.
No, I'm not saying... I don't have any inclinations. I think it's a dangerous proposition regardless. I'm just saying, Compared to going to outer space, I don't think time travel is realistic. And as crazy as these movies have gotten, they have always stayed true to some kind of semblance of reality or physics or science, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, MCU exists in a universe where magic is real and there are
sorcerers.
gods. And yes, so that, that's a different set of rules they're playing by. Here, I don't know. I'm not going to say I would hate the movie if it does it, because, I'm probably going to like it anyway, but
I think that it opens up a lot of possibilities to give us a lot of what we want. And, I mean, there was harder, like, we had Letty, like, die and come back. We had Han die and come back. Like, if they're just like, oh, we did that all with time travel, like, that kind of makes sense.
I guess, Letty never really died. She just, like, there's a difference between, like, you could die and come back, or just, like, they just weren't in the thing that blew up, right? And, like, that's what this franchise always hides behind. Oh, Han wasn't actually in the car. Letty wasn't actually in the car. Dom wasn't actually in the plane when it blew up, or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, but then that could be like, oh, like, Mr. Nobody just, like, came and, like, scooped him out at the last second, and, like, then he time traveled him back, and you're good, and, like, that's it. So, yeah, I think that, like, based in reality, it doesn't make sense. But logically, for the franchise and the structure of how the story's going, I could see it happening. So I'm curious to see how they would do it. I can't pass any judgment until I see it. If it's a way to bring a bunch of people that we're missing back and, like, get, like, the end game scene and with Vince and Jesse and everybody at the last battle, fine.
Well, we're 9 months or so out from the movie coming out, I think, so we will know sooner rather than later. That's, just like 2 laps away, so.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, end, you know what I mean? Like, 10-2. Like, if like, we're just, like, plotting to, like, round everybody up to bring them back for 10-2, then, yeah, that's fine by me.
Yeah. Any other news that you've seen? Because I don't think that I've seen anything other than that one picture with, without the context. We don't know really what the context is.
Yeah, and we're just making speculation. So, like, that could just be like, oh, we just need to go faster.
And I'm going to do the work for you. So far as I've seen, Dwayne Johnson not in Fast X.
Damn.
But the final thing to do, and a very quick abbreviated intro before we take a break, is the Too Fast, Too Furious minutes. Minute 68, a minute I called Temper's Flare.
Ain't coming no more. Hey, where you going? You stay right here with us, buddy. Don't even think about it. Stay your ass off my homeboy's boat. Put the gun down! Put the gun down now! You first, asshole! You first! Shoot the shit out of him! Put the gun down! Bájalo ahora! Bájalo ahora! ¡Mátalo! ¡Don't be mad! ¡Mátalo! ¡Don't be mad! ¡Put the gun down! ¡Te voy a matar ahora mismo! ¡Take it on the phone!
In this minute, Enrique and Roberto board Brian's boat, guns drawn. Roberto holds Brian and Roman at gunpoint as Enrique looks around the boat. Panicked, in the bathroom, Monica looks up to see a skylight escaping just before Enrique looks in the bathroom. Enrique and Roman get into a fist fight. Brian turns the tables on Roberto by grabbing a gun as Enrique pulls his gun on Roman, and the four shout at and threaten each other as the minute ends. So there's not really much of note here. This is kind of like an end to the scene that we've been talking about for a couple of minutes, but we don't, the big thing is we don't see Monica get out through the skylight. We see her look up, but like, it seems difficult for her to get out, but that's got to be what she does. Like, that's what the movie's saying she does, but it seems difficult to get out that way.
It kind of seems like she probably climbed on the sink, jumped, and then, like, pulled herself up through it. It does seem like a difficult move. I think it's more of, like, the camera angle makes the ceiling look high. But, I mean, Enrique's kind of big, and he's, like, fitting inside the boat, so the ceiling's not that low. You know what I mean? It's not like one of those, like, what do you call, like, when you have, like, a boat that has, like, a front that has, like, a little room underneath it?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, like a galley? No, maybe not a galley. I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's not a sunken thing. This is all just kind of like an even level, everything.
With, like, a roof that's, like,
8
probably...
feet ceilings or whatever, yeah.
So it's, like, tall enough, right? Like, you got space. The illusion is that she climbs on the sink or something, jumps up through the window, gets out.
We don't know for sure, but there's no other better explanation, especially given the shot that they show her looking panicked, looking up, us seeing the skylight, and going from there, right? So
Enrique opening the door, she's not in there. There's no other escape sides in that.
I just made myself laugh because I'm looking at in the minute document, which the patrons have access to TooFastTooForever.com. It's in the pinned post. But in the dialogue, if you see, like, there's, I have all the dialogue here. And there's Brian and Enrique saying tu primero, like, you first. But the and is squiggly blue because Google wants us to say E, like Brian E. Enrique. Like, you're speaking in Spanish. Let's make this actually fully Spanish. No, Google. Which is kind of funny. I'm like, what? There's nothing wrong about that. But, yes. So what did you notice? Is there new stuff that you saw, things around the boat that you have not noticed before this minute?
Yeah, I got a couple things. I got the guns that they have, whatever. There's a sign behind Brian if you're looking at his front door, the left window. He has 2 West Coast Chopper stickers on the right window, by the way.
I saw those this time, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On the left window, there's a sign that says slow down and blank in Florida. Like, you can't make it out. It's either blurry, the sun's reflecting off of it in the shot, or Brian's covering part of it up. But in the one clear part that I got, it says slow down and blank. I don't know. It's like one of these, like, live, laugh, love signs, kind of.
Oh, behind him on the door?
No, behind him in the left window.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing slow down. I don't think the angle is bad. I'm looking at it right now.
The angle's bad, the light is bad, the everything. It's hard to read, but it says slow down in something in Florida. I wanted to know what the sign said. I couldn't find it. I'm assuming it's going to be like relax in Florida or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something real stupid.
Yeah.
He has 2 Adidas shoe boxes on the floor.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. And then I went through all the stuff in the bathroom on the sink.
Sure, yep. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this before we started recording.
There was something in like a bronzish, like a dark bronzish kind of container.
Like a cylinder, yeah.
Like a cylinder that looks like it would be like a spray thing. We're guessing it might be like spray deodorant, but the container seems familiar, but I can't make out what that is. Like, I could guess like shaving cream, Colgate, he has Advil on the counter, and those are all stuff like I can't make out, but like I could tell by the branding of it that this is what this is. The most interesting thing is on the sink, there's something, and I had to ask Rachel if she agreed, that it looks like there might be a purple string thong on the sink.
Let me take a look. As you were talking about that, I looked back at the minute, and I think slow down, and I think the first letter is L, so maybe live or love. Like, I mean, you were saying live, laugh, love, but I think, or maybe it could also be laugh, right? But I think I see an L.
Okay.
So where's the thong? Like the front right? Like
front left. As it pans and you see Enrique's bald head.
In the sink, right?
Yeah, like half in the sink, half on the counter.
Yeah, I can see that. There's something stringy for sure.
It looks like a green washcloth and then something stringy, and it's like thicker than dental floss. And like, why would Brian have something weirdly stringy like that? Unless it's Brian's thong underwear.
I don't know, man. It feels weird to leave that in the sink. Like, I feel like, it's very visible there for anybody to see. So if he's exploring, if Enrique is exploring the boat to find, I guess he's looking for Monica, or he's just looking for something. Like, who knows exactly what he's looking for? Probably Monica.
I think they hear noises, right? Like, they know that there was whispering inside the boat. So I think they're more curious about, like, who was inside the boat type situation.
So he's just, like, poking around, but he would see. So I guess he doesn't really care. Like, if they're not looking for Monica, I don't know. But, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, how would you prove that it's her underwear?
Right.
Or whatever. It could just be, like, any girl's underwear. But anyways,
Correct.
That was the first time I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's weird and interesting.
Anything else of note, or no? We just, we don't know what that gold cylinder is, golden cylinder, but anything else of note in this minute?
No, I think that was about it. I added all the stuff that I could find. I do have kind of an idea for the minute question. Go with yours first, and then I'll tell you what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't love mine, but there's not a lot that happens. I have, after Enrique searches Brian's boat, he and Roberto fight with Roman and Brian. Who fights who? It's either Brian versus Enrique or Brian versus Roberto, and Roman versus the other one. So the answer is Brian versus Roberto. But what did you have? What was your question?
Because we saw, like, we were confused about how she came in, I was going to ask a pretty easy question, which is, like, how does Monica get out of the boat?
I thought that, but we don't know for sure. Like, that was going to be my question. Like, we don't know.
No, I mean, he opens the bathroom door right after she, like, looks at the skylight. Like, how are we
I know
presumed...
that, but I know, but that's, I think that's almost too easy, though. Like in a way that like all of our questions are too hard. I think that's almost too easy.
But she comes in through like the back door.
Well, we don't know how she comes in.
She does, because she like opens the back door.
No, she just shows
Brian
up.
hears it.
She walks in. No, he just hears somebody rustling around. I don't think we hear a door. If we heard a door, we would make a note of it. I think she's just there.
Huh.
Because we were talking about maybe she comes in through the skylight, maybe she comes in the back door, maybe she comes in the window. We don't know. We don't know definitively. No, we don't know for sure how she comes in. I'm almost positive of that. Just because, like, I think, like, there's something between, like, there's like a speculation, which it's, you know, I don't know. Like, on the back of the boat, there is like a double sliding door, but it is like, I went back to minute 66 right now. And on the back of the boat, there is 2 really kind of big windows, a little window for the bathroom. There's a double sliding door, like a glass door.
And in this minute, we see, like, there's, like, a stairs, too, right? Like, in Brian's kind of bedroom place.
Yes, that go up, right? Or
that
down.
go to the roof, yeah. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have other options.
We just see her sit down on the bed. We don't see her come in. The door is not open. There's not, like, movement at the door. She's just in the boat. So we don't know how she gets in there. We also don't really know how she gets out. I mean, we could do, like, a how do people assume, or what do we suspect she gets out? But I feel like that's kind of getting into a sort of a tricky, like, weird, not that anybody actually cares, but I think it's a kind of a murky territory, because we don't have a definitive answer for that. It's just like we suspect it's the skylight, but we don't know for sure.
I mean, I don't know. You have to talk about the continuity of time. He's already in the thing. You see her in the bathroom. She looks at the skylight. There's no other way out of the bathroom.
No, I know that, yes. But I'm also, like, the other thing to keep in mind is that as they're cutting back and forth, it's not necessarily happening in real time.
That's what I'm saying,
That might have been her panicking earlier and her getting out. Like, she might have climbed up those stairs. We don't know. I mean, we probably know. The movie's suggesting it's the skylight, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't love my question. I'm not trying to defend my question. I just think that that's kind of a slippery slope of, like, we don't really know. Like, we could, if we wanted to frame it as, like, what's the way that the movie suggests she got out or something, but then
that's what I was thinking.
Because we could do the back door, the front door, the stairs to the roof, or the skylight. I still think it's kind of it's like vague and easy somehow, both all in one.
Okay.
Again, I don't love my question. I don't think my question's great. I think my question's also kind of easy. It's like, if you remember who's who, right? Like, do you remember I have to look up every episode. Every minute I have to look up who's Enrique, who's Roberto.
Exactly. That's
Enrique
why I think
is bald.
Yes.
Enrique, cue ball, bald head. Enrique, cue ball. So.
Got it. Oh, that works.
We'll see if that works.
Okay.
See if that sticks. Enrique, cue ball. How is it implied that Monica leaves Brian's boat before Enrique finds her? Through the back door, through the bedroom stairs, through the bathroom skylight, through the front door.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, when I see the scene, I remember it. But, like, if you ask me that blind, I wouldn't remember that.
I think
Would you?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Because that's what our conversation has been about, like, this entire scene. It's how she gets in, how she gets out, because that's the thing that the movie does not explain. As I was watching this minute and, like, taking notes on the parts, and I wasn't watching yet, I was just listening. I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is what we thought, because I looked up and I saw the skylight, but I missed the shot because I was, like, looking down, writing down dialogue or whatever, and I had missed Monica. And I'm like, do we just assume it's a skylight because we see the skylight? It's like, no, because Monica's also in there, but...
Yeah, so. You see her in the bathroom, you see the door close, you see her panic, she looks at the skylight, and then he opens the door, presumably at the, like, seconds later, and she's not there.
Like, I will say that I will probably fail this quiz when we take it, when we're done with it, but I guarantee you I will not get this question wrong. I think this is one of the easier questions on the quiz.
I was throwing an easy one in because I know we've had a string of pretty hard ones, so I was like, oh, this minute's not too tough. That's one you should get. You should get, but I don't always remember it, so.
We'll see. We got 72 questions through 68 minutes. Quiz available at toofast2forever.com on the Patreon if you want to go over there. If not, that's cool too, man. Whatever you want to do. I don't care.
You want, bro. Yeah.
All right, let's take a break and let's come back and let's talk about Furious 7.
Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 248, Furious 7. This episode is brought to you by Wonderbly. I'm going to read you a small excerpt from the custom book that I made for myself. It seems like someone invisible was stealing his birthday. Well, Joe 2 wasn't having that. This isn't right. No way. Shout out to Wonderbly.
Well, shout out to Wonderbly, and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever with us now. So this is the completion of a two-part sort of, not crossover, but listener to the show, patron of the show, friend of the show, Justin Kleinman, years ago was like, I have friends who love these movies. And we're like, great, let's have them on the podcast. And we invited them on last lap. One of them was able to join. One of them could not because I think they were stuck at work or there was some kind of like conflict or something. So last lap we had one of them. Tonight we have one or maybe two. Eventually probably both will be here. But with us tonight, for now, to kick things off, friend of the show, friend of the show, and soon to be friend of the show. Am I making this more complicated than it needs to be? Absolutely. Yep. With us tonight, though, for now, we have Leisha Suggs. Hello, Leisha.
Hello, I'm Leisha.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for that welcome.
I'm glad that we could finally get you here. Last lap, Michelle was on to talk about Hobbs and Shaw, and now here you are to talk about Furious 7, and Michelle will be here after the cats finish eating, supposedly. Peek behind the curtain.
Yep.
But yeah, welcome. I'm so glad that we could finally get you on the show.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here, and yes, it has been a long saga of when will we finally do this show, but here we are. Yes, I was stuck at work. Yes, it made me very sad, but we did it. We're here, and I think now my dear wife Michelle is approaching.
Very, very cool. Well, I know this is our very own Fast saga, and I don't remember how the interview really played out last time. It wasn't that long ago, but you know, this podcast, in one brain, out the other brain, whatever.
Yeah.
But Justin, I know, has this group of friends that he goes to see these movies with, and I feel like maybe you're in that group, but are you in that fabled group of the Kleinman friends who go out to see these movies and other movies when these movies are in theaters?
I'm like the Hobbs and Shaw of the franchise.
Okay.
We go see Purge movies.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yes.
So I'm kind of like
remember
this other entity that's connected to because I also like, but it's specifically for us Purge movies. So
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
I love the Purge movies. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys are on board too. They're fun. I was just watching one recently. Yeah.
So then, if you are the Hobbs and Shaw, I know that Michelle sent me your rankings, which we'll get to in a second, but what's your history with these movies? Have you been watching them from the beginning and they sort of didn't grab you, or did you come in later? Like, where did you start with the Fastiverse, and what's your relationship with the Fast movies at this time?
So my relationship with them at this time is one of like, I really enjoy them when I watch them. When they're not actively in front of me, I'm like, why do I like this? Okay. And then I watch them and I'm like, this is why I like this. And it's just because it's just fun and silly. You know, I'm not if you think about the things that I'm interested in, I don't know why I like the Fast and Furious.
Sure. Okay.
You know, I'm not a car person.
Yep.
You know, early, like when they were first coming out, I was like, oh, those are just for meatheads. Like, I don't want to watch, you know, all of that and sexualizing, and I was already having a really weird time with my own sexuality, so I didn't know how I felt about the women in the movies. Mm-hmm. It was all kind of confusing at first, and then I don't know, one day I think it was maybe, even though I didn't rate it very high, I think it was probably like Fast 5 maybe. I don't know. I watched one of them and I was like, oh, I understand why people like this now. It's just a good time. Like, right. Fast things, you know, epic lines that are epic, but are so cheesy that they've just come all the way back around and now they're epic again. Like, I get it now.
You just have to find your entry point, and it sounds like you did, which is great.
Yeah. It was a good time. And now that, and you know, we'll occasionally do like a whole watch through where, you know, it's like a hot weekend or something. You know, it's hot right now. We're not watching them right now, but like we'll do like a long weekend and watch all of them all at once or most of them all at once, and it's a good time.
That's awesome. So now I have the rankings that have been sent to me, but can you walk the listeners through your rankings, either from your least favorite to your most favorite or top down, whichever way you think is going to be more interesting, more suspenseful. Either way, start at the bottom and go up or the top and go down. Hit us with those sweet, sweet rankings.
So I'm going to go top down.
Okay.
just because I don't know why. In my head, when I made the list, I went top down. So
Sure.
Okay.
the one that we're talking about today, Fury 7, that is my top. That is my top favorite.
Perfect.
This
Beautiful.
is your favorite. Perfect.
It's my favorite. I love it. It's got everything in it that I liked about when I made the realization, oh, this is why I like this. It's got everything in it. And it's got that, the lovely ending, obviously, where they say goodbye to their best friend, Paul Walker, and then he drives to heaven in a white sports car, and it's great. I watched it again, and I was like, wait, but I wasn't in the Fast and Furious mood. I just watched it to make sure that I knew everything. So I was like, wait, why do I like this?
Was it last night?
Yeah. But I actually really, when I think about all of the things that are in that movie, it's just a little bit of all of the taste of things that I appreciate. It's epic stuff. It's really awesome tricks. And then just they were really sweet. And it was so plain in the movie that everyone who was in it just really cared so deeply for Paul Walker. So his passing.
Yeah.
It was obviously a very emotional experience. And I just really appreciate that they bothered to even be so loving and sweet and kind, where a lot of those reactions, especially at the end, like people were able to process some stuff, and I like that as a therapist. Like my job is a therapist, so in my head I'm like, whenever people are processing emotions, I'm like, this is beautiful. So anyway, that's why I picked 7 as my favorite. And then ironically, as I said, what brought me into the franchise was 5, so that's my second. Because that was, when I realized I really like these movies. And then 3, because I love Han and Lil Bow Wow. Wait, it's not Lil Bow Wow.
He was back then. He was Lil Bow Wow back then. Now I think he's just regular Bow Wow.
Is he just Bow?
There was a recent article about it, and he was like, I never lost the little. It just, like, people just started calling me Bow Wow, so I guess I lost it.
Well, he's also just Shad. Like on Twitter, he's Shad Moss, right? So like he's just whatever you want to call him, Twinkie, that offensive name, whatever you want to call him. We all love him.
We all love him, and I loved him in this movie. I thought he was great, and they did Han dirty by killing him, and so I have to put his movie up higher than all the other ones. And then after that, it kind of just descends in order from like 9, 8, and 6 and 4, because the things that I like about all of those are the big set pieces.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just basically listed them in descending order of which set pieces I liked the most. Okay. And obviously, like 9 and 8 are higher because they're cooler, because they're newer.
Gotcha. Right. So like the bar has been raised for kind of all movies, and so just how like most movies now are better than they were like 20 years ago. It's just you like things because they're just better made generally.
Yeah. Better made. Like the tricks got more crazy, so it's just easier to list those higher because it's cooler.
Not to interrupt your list here, because I know we're near the end of the rankings, but we just talked in the intro about there's a rumor. There's always been, I guess, a rumor, but now there's like, I guess, more credible speculation if that's a thing that like we might do time travel in the next movie or two. What would you think if we went to time travel? Is that something that you would be on board with, or is that something that would sort of like jump the shark for you?
Here's the thing. They went to space.
They sure did.
I don't know what else they could do. Okay, I almost wish they hadn't gone to space and they'd really left that for like the last movie. Like maybe because the opposite of space is like deep sea.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
But I feel like because this is so silly. But I feel like because space is the final frontier, you actually have to make it the last one. So they really should have gone to like repair a fault line under the like Pacific Ocean or something. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then space is the last one. Since they did space already, they kind of have to do time travel.
No, yeah, like we keep saying that they keep saving the world because it's like once you save the world, if you don't save the world in the next movie, it's like a step down. So if you've done like, it makes sense on the one hand that they've gone to space because like the things were so, like there was a nuclear submarine in the movie before.
Yeah.
But now that they've gone to space, you're right. Like, what do they do to top that? Is it time travel or is it something else? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would accept the reversal of because as I said, deep sea and space are diametrically opposed, right? So if they did like a deep sea theme or something, then I'd be like, okay, I get that. But in reality, it's gonna probably if the rumor is true and it's time travel, I'll be like, well, I didn't know what else they could do.
I mean, I think we need a James Cameron directed Fast 11 crossover with Avatar 3 by that point.
The
Hey,
camera hasn't been
hey.
invented yet, Joey. That
Well,
was
he's going
shooted
to invent it for
properly.
this movie, and they're going to be
Okay.
undersea and with the Na'vi in
Mhm.
Pandora. I'm surprised that I remembered both of those words. I'm very impressed with myself right now.
I'm also very impressed because I was struggling to
Thank
remember
you.
and whatever the unobtainium in that movie is that they were trying.
Unobtainium. That's right. Yeah.
You know, I'm of the kind where like I like to see every movie like the Thursday before it comes out, just because I'm like I want to be part of the conversation or whatever. But that movie comes out like my birthday is on a Thursday, and so I could spend my birthday this year seeing Avatar 2, and I'm like, I don't think that I'm going to do that. But there's one version of my future where I spend 3 hours of my birthday evening this year watching Avatar 2. I don't think I'm going to do that because I don't actually care, but
No.
it's something I got to reckon with. So I don't know.
Yeah, you. I don't think you want to do that.
I don't think I want to do that either. So you have Fast and Furious number 4 as your 7th. So you have the bottom 2 are the first 2. So what order
Yes.
hit us with those?
It's just in reverse order. So the second from the last is the first movie, and number 2 is the last.
Okay.
And I think it's because number 1, I don't want to put the first movie as the last in my list because that just feels wrong.
Okay.
There would be no Fast and Furious without the first one, so
Sure.
it can't be last in the list in my head. And the second one, it just kind of felt like nobody was really sure whether it was really going to take off. And so there's a lot of people that are not in it that I think really make the franchise as it continues on. So it just kind of feels like, I don't know, not as impressive. Like they tried to do something cool, and there's cool stuff that happens in it, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite the same to me. But it really doesn't matter.
Are there like another question we sometimes ask in terms of like tiers, like are there like big gaps between certain ones, or do you like them all about the same? This is just the order of preference, or there's some that like, oh no, I kind of love these, and these ones I'm not really too crazy about.
7 and 5 probably have they are very close together.
Okay.
Also, I have to say 5 is definitely way up there, not just because it was my entry, but also because they drag a safe.
They sure do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they drag it for a long time.
Yeah.
Destroy a lot of stuff.
Yes, do a lot of things, and they do a lot of stuff like with the safe. And I don't know why the sight of like a giant military safe rolling through, where were they? Cuba? Wait,
Rio.
where were
They're in Rio and 5.
they were in
yeah.
Rio. Rolling through Rio just does it for me. But those two are definitely very close together, way high up. And then it's kind of like exponentially, and you know how like exponents and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
one is very far away from like 7 and 5.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so there is a big gap there. Okay, that makes sense. So now one more question, not about the movies, but I think you might have answered it in your defense of Tokyo Drift. But do you have a favorite character in these movies?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely Han. I
Yep.
really loved him. I loved his character. I was very sad when they did him like that, and then was definitely in the, are they going to bring him back? And Han is definitely by far my favorite. And I was pleased to see him return in the most
Yeah.
recent. Like, I was like, yes, they did it. And he agreed, and he came back. And he's a great, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the actor's name.
Sung Kang?
Yes, Sun Kang just seems like a lovely human being at the same time. So I like
That's
to
what
watch
everybody
him.
says, man.
You're sort of following a recent trend where our guests choose not to rank Hobbs and Shaw, which is fine. We don't require that. But I'm looking back now at, because Michelle was on to talk about Hobbs and Shaw, and she said her favorite character was Hattie, with Vanessa Kirby character in Hobbs and Shaw. So you don't have to necessarily rank Hobbs and Shaw, but where would that fall? Why did you choose not to rank it? And what do you think of that movie overall? And what do you think of Hattie in particular?
Yeah. The only reason I chose not to rank it is because, okay, this is the analogy. I couldn't come up with a better analogy, and I don't usually like to use other franchises in my analogies about other franchises.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Hobbs and Shaw to me is like the solo movie of Star Wars.
Okay.
It's in the universe, and it definitely happened and is a story that we need to talk about. But Star Wars is about the Skywalkers and their life, right? Like, it kind of revolves around Skywalkers and those particular characters, like the trilogies do. So all of the stories around it kind of hinge, and then you go off in other directions. And I feel like that's what Hobbs and Shaw is. It's definitely there, and I like that movie a lot. But it doesn't feel like a part of like the family. It doesn't feel like we're telling the story of the family when we go with Hobbs and Shaw.
I guess that is interesting that, like, because you either do the Star Wars rankings with the 9 movies, or you have in like Rogue One and Solo and the TV shows and whatever. And here, like I never really thought about it in the way that you just phrased it until you just said that, but it does kind of make sense that you would also maybe be like, well, there's the Crossroads video game and there's the Spy Racers TV series, and like they're all kind of like I think Hobbs and Shaw is probably a little closer to the main movies than those, but it's not wildly dissimilar to like, hey, like Dom is on the periphery of all these different properties. They're just not really about him. So
Yeah.
I think it's a fair comparison to make.
But it's like if I was gonna put them like on the same shelf but not next to each other, like Hobbs and Shaw would be right up there with 7 and 5, where in terms of how much I appreciated them and enjoyed them.
Cool.
Them.
Okay. Very cool.
So it's up there. It's just not in the story of the family, I guess. And I don't know, Hattie was fine. I prefer The Rock personally, Dwayne Johnson.
I mean, I think they're both great. They're both beautiful human beings that
Yes,
I
they
think
are.
We're big Hattie fans here.
big Hattie fans, big Hobbs fans. For
I mean,
sure.
she did want to climb him. Like a mountain, like a tree. What did he say?
He's like, yes.
If she wanted to climb like a mountain.
Yeah, she said if she wanted to climb like a mountain, I wouldn't blame her. Who wouldn't want to climb like a mountain?
No, I'm right there with you. Now, before we talk about this movie and why you love it, why it's your favorite moments, favorite stuff, all that kind of thing, we are doing a question that we did not have from Michelle last time. So if Michelle, I think she's in the background there, if she wants to chime in too, we'd be happy to have her answer here too. But each movie, because this lap is all themed around heists, and here we kind of have a heist. We have the supercar heist in the towers in Abu Dhabi. But if you were picking someone from this movie to join a heist team, and we don't necessarily have the crime picked out yet, we're just gathering the best talents from around the world, which character in this movie would you choose? You're like, this is the best character, the most talented, the one with the skill set that can't be denied. Who would you want from this team on a heist team of yours, and why do you want that person on your team? And if you want time to think about it, Joe can go first.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I have some ideas, but I want to refine them.
Because I think this is one that's like more of a heist than other movies we've covered recently. So I think there's maybe some better, clearer answers, but there are some options here. So Joe, who would you pick in this? Who's your pick for the heist member for this movie?
You know exactly who I'm going to pick. I've been saying it the whole lap. This
Mr.
is
Nobody?
time to bring in my girl Letty.
Oh, right, okay.
She beats up Ronda Rousey. She remembers Dom and that they're married. I already have a Dom with superpowers. I think Letty's pretty much unstoppable at this point. Give me Letty. That's who I want.
I thought you were going to bring in, like, you have been saying Letty all lap, that when we're like, this is the Letty, like, no, my Letty is 7, blah, 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 all this different stuff. But you've also been saying all lap long, give me the old guy. Give me the experience. Give me the guy who's been there before. And I thought you were going to bring in, for that reason, bring in Mr. Nobody.
No, I mean, Mr. Nobody's a good choice, but I think that in this one, I got to take Letty here. Brian's not bad in this one, but I had a Brian already, and he already had, like, superpowers. I think it's hard to argue against picking Letty with, like, her memories back and her hand-to-hand combat in this one. Like, you took Joe Taslim last time, right?
I sure did, yep.
For a very similar reason, right?
Well, I took him for 6. Last time, I mean, the last one we did was I took Han for Tokyo Drift. But yes, for 6, I took Joe Taslim.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And
Sorry.
you took Dom last movie, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that, like, you need a hand-to-hand combat person. Letty's looking great, fighting the shit out of Ronda Rousey. I'm down. That's who I want. Who did you pick, Brian?
Well, I already picked Dom from 4, and I think we talked about this before. I think we can pick people again. I just don't know if I want to pick Dom again. Like, I think Dom is maybe the best answer in this movie. I get one to save. Like, I picked Letty from the first one, and our listeners agreed with me on Patreon. They picked you had Vince and Jordan had Jesse, and we argued for 25 minutes as we were ironing this out. I will say, to just sort of to mix things up a bit, because I think Letty's a great pick. I think Dom's also a great pick. I'm going to say Mr. Nobody. I'm going to say he's got a skill set unlike ones we've seen in this franchise before. We don't know the full Mr. Nobody story. He might be a villain. Who knows? But I'm going to go Mr. Nobody because I think that he has power and influence and experience. Of the people I've been picking, it's rare that I've picked the person with experience. So I'd like to have one of those people on my team. So
kind of balancing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying. You know, this is like in a fantasy baseball draft or whatever. It's like the later rounds, you're like, I don't have any guys who can steal bases. Like, let's just get a guy. Like, he's not the best stealer, but, you know, whatever. Okay. Leisha, Michelle, if you're there too, who would you pick for this heist?
Michelle is here, but I'm going to go first. You know, I was thinking about it. And at first I was like Ramsey, but they,
great choice.
They encouraged her to, like, just scream out of fear too much, which is the thing that I would do if I was also
Sure.
being tossed from, you know, a moving armored bus to a less armored muscle car. I would also scream. But, you know, it just kind of like, I just want her for technical expertise. But I was like, but I could get car know-how and technical expertise from Tej.
Okay.
True.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, they just kind of like work together and do the tech part. And if we were going to go on a heist, I would need to get away. And most heists, I think now are, you know, you need that technical know-how because digital
It's gonna be a
age
digital
and all.
crime. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like I would go Tej, or if I can do like honorable mentions would be Hobbs, because even in the cast,
Okay.
because he would probably
Okay.
do a really good job.
Fair enough. That's a good pick too. I'm gonna do Tej. I think because I just think like the amount of screen time we have here. I think the argument for Tej is a great one. So I'll officially mark you down for Tej. But I think the Hobbs honorable mention is definitely worth mentioning. Michelle, what about you? Who would you pick if you were building a heist team?
Probably gonna be Tej or Ramsey, just like Leisha. I need the tech people on my side.
I think that's fair. I'll mark you down for Ramsey because we got Tej already, but I think that's great. I think especially as these movies become more techy and as heists in general probably become more techy, having those on your team makes all the sense in the world.
Ramsey was a backup choice for me too. She's great, but I just didn't have a Letty yet, and I was saving my Letty for this one.
Yeah, my one like nit to pick with Ramsey is that I think in future movies she will be a better version of Ramsey. Not that she's not great here because she is basically
Yeah,
the same
she
character.
hasn't hit her peak yet. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so Leisha, let's talk about Furious 7. This is your favorite Fast and Furious movie. You said you love the set pieces. What do you love about this? Favorite moments, favorite lines, favorite scenes, favorite characters? Hit us with why you love Furious 7.
I mean, I already kind of got into it when I was like, oh, you know, Ramsey's trip from the bus onto Dom's car. But that whole like mountain scene, and I like that the mountain chase scene starts with Roman being super insecure. He's like, well, you know, I could lead too, you know, so I'm gonna totally come up with a plan, and my plan is to just do the worst plan ever. And then they do, and then he just spends the whole time rotating in a circle in his parachute because he's too afraid to press the button and go. But then shows up at the very end to save everybody, and it's really awesome. So I really appreciate the chase in the mountains and them just kind of making safe Ramsey. And then also the little scene after where he's like, well, why can't there be a double alpha? Like, I don't it's just cute. So I really appreciate that. And I just, I don't know, I like any movie, like I like that movie the most because, in part because of the story around it and because of the way that they just seem so caring of each other. Like it actually does kind of feel a little like family most times. And that's the big overarching theme of all of the movies is, you know, we stick together and we do a good job and we're just kind of like pretty competent people who drive cars and drive them really well. And I think that's great.
Yeah. What do you think of the addition? Are you a fan of Kurt Russell in general? What do you think about? Because I feel like, you know, obviously the main addition here to the movie, I think, is Jason Statham, but I think they sort of resolve that kind of quickly. I think, you know, the ongoing questions, the ongoing saga we have here is Mr. Nobody good or bad? Is he, you know, is he manipulative? Is he helpful? Where does he fall? So what do you think of Mr. Nobody? Because I'm curious as we go on in the franchise. I'm more curious about him than Shaw, but what do you think of Mr. Nobody in general, Kurt Russell as an actor, any of that kind of stuff?
I don't know, Kurt Russell's actor, I'm a little shrug. I'm not, I'm like, oh, that's a guy I know. And then Michelle's like, that's Kurt Russell. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is Kurt Russell. So like, I've seen that guy in things.
Yeah, it's my dad's friend, Kurt.
I was a little skeptical about his appearance. Like, again, you know, we were talking about, you know, they went to space, what's next, maybe time travel. And it's like, well, what else are they going to do? And it's like, at some point, they have to keep upping the ante about things. And so it makes sense that eventually all of this is like, becomes political intrigue. Plainly, Mr. Nobody is some part of some hush-hush, we don't talk about it, part of the government, which is how he has a ton of money to spend, which is exactly the kind of message we want to be sending now. You know, wasteful government spending on things that they shouldn't be involved in. I didn't know what to feel about his character when it first showed up, aside from, oh, he's just going to give them access to more things.
Sure.
I am always a little sus of anyone whose actual, like, cast name is Mr. Nobody, because
Well, there is. I don't know if you know, but there's the animated series on Netflix that's now over, but there was like 5 or 6 seasons, and one of the main characters in that is Ms. Nowhere, that she also works at the same organization, and so she's still in the same kind of like, ooh, you don't know anything about me, but we know more about her because she's like this over-the-top literal cartoon character. But it is kind of a weird thing to have a character's name be Mr. Nobody. Like, yeah, we trust this guy.
Yeah, totally. And we trust him to do things on his behalf and just trust that they're not bad.
There is a weird element that he brings in that I must have heard before, and I just didn't think that I put it in the right context. But when they're talking about God's eye, and they're talking about how powerful this technology is, right?
Okay.
He brings up, he's like, it took us 10 years to find Osama bin Laden. I'm like, it's weird that this movie is referencing Osama bin Laden. Like,
I never heard that before.
I know it exists in our world, and I know that in later movies like Hobbs and Shaw, they're going to reference pop culture and stuff like that. But I don't want to think about, like, real-life terrorism when, like, these people are trying to say, like, I know that they're kind of, like, trying to raise the stakes. It struck me as weird this time. He's like, you know, if we had him, we would have found him in a weekend, or whatever the line is. But like, bringing this like real world villain into the movie felt like it was meant to give it higher stakes, and just wound up being like, oh, that feels weird.
Yeah, like we want to elevate it to actual spy thriller,
Mm-hmm.
Jason Bourne, but with cars. And that's not what I think about when I think of Fast and Furious, but because it's too real. But here's the thing. If you think about, like, you know, I just said also my other, like right up there with 7 is 5, and I liked it because they drag a safe around Rio. It's like, well, that's terrible because many people's property was destroyed when they dragged a safe around Rio. It's a terrible idea. So, you know, but we don't want to think about all of those things while we're just watching cool things happen. And I don't want to think about, you know, this real life political thing that occurred that, I don't know, the God's Eye could have helped with. Like, just let it be in this, you know, in the Fast and Furious universe, and whatever happens in that universe is what's happening there, and it's okay.
Did this movie come out around the time that they found Osama bin Laden? Is it like a pop culture reference
No,
more than anything?
they got bin Laden in 2010 or 2011, because I remember I was at Best Buy. I was working at Best Buy when they got him, and this movie came out in 2015. So like it's years after, and like
yeah, it's been a while.
Like even if, you know, it takes years to write and make or whatever, like by the time this came out, it would have been 2013, 2014 that they were shooting this. So they had plenty of time to change it. So like it's not like a current event or anything.
Yeah, that's weird then. And it's not. So and it's definitely not like they added it in last minute to be like, oh, it's relevant now. Here, we'll say it.
No, like they put it in the script and then just kept it in there. And it's like, hey, maybe insert a timely reference, or just don't say that line at all. Because I think we already understood that it was very powerful.
Yeah, exactly. I had a question that as I'm watching it this time, Dom shows up and Shaw's sitting there eating, right? Shaw says, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I have lots of friends. Like, who is this army that's pissed off at Dom? Like, where did they, like, we haven't established that, like, Dom is, like,
He pissed off the Johnny Tran family. His family
like,
pissed off the Carter Verone family.
But
Uncle
it's
Kamada's
criminals.
family.
It's not like a government organization.
Yeah,
or
but
like
that's
a country.
that's who Shaw is, you know, aiding and abetting with. He's not like hanging out with like just teenagers. Like he's hanging out with criminals.
Dom's the army of enemy that the army of enemies that Dom has are all of the employees that got fired after those DVDs got stolen.
There you go.
Well, yeah, but you also think about, like, in a weird kind of way, like in the MCU, where you know, you get the ramifications of like people who like got fired or like that worked for for Stark Industries or whatever, right? Like there's like and also like Leisha was just saying, they drag a safe through the streets of Rio. Like one of those people who like lost their home could have become like a supervillain. Like there's our family, we love them, but they are causing chaos, and there are people around the world that have every right to hate these people.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, and he was like on the news and stuff like that, so like people know who it is. Like,
didn't they like burn him? Basically, that's why he was in Rio.
Yeah, because they break him out of prison, and then he has to go to a country with no extradition. Like he's wanted by everyone, and they even say like later, like if you mess up, if you don't do this, you are going to jail, and I can't get you out. Like they have their backs against the wall. Like they have more enemies, I would say, than friends. I mean, we also know that they don't have friends; they have family. I understand that, but
family and Coronas.
I think that most people like probably are not fond of them.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It was more like there is a SWAT team on deck like waiting to get him. And if he has Mr. Nobody behind him, like I thought like pretty much like the only like agency that would be after him would be Mr. Nobody's whatever.
I mean, those might just be hired goons too.
Yeah, true. It was just weird to think about. Like I was like, and you guys are right. Like we see one perspective of it, which is like we love the family and Dom is doing good, and like the world could be like, this is a shitbag. He needs to go away for a long time.
Well, in our house, this is a sign that I am officially an old, because in 7 at the towards the beginning, the impetus for all of them to really get going and even meet Mr. Nobody is Shaw sends that bomb to their house and it blows up the family house. All I could be concerned about in that scene, aside from the fact that that kid was alive and all that, was their neighbors must hate them so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, and if you look at the footage as this, like, they don't want you to look at the surrounding footage. Obviously everything, the footage is centered. It like almost zooms out from the center of this blast in the house, and it's very traumatic and scary. But if you look at the other 2 houses on either side, one of them is a single family home that has burning wreckage on it.
Yes.
Yep.
And the other one is a multi-unit apartment building that is completely scorched on the other side. I'm like, what about those people in those apartments? I was just like, what's happening to them? Are they okay?
I don't want to bring it down too serious here, but in saying that, last year in my town when New Jersey flooded basically, and there was a house in my town that blew up. They were not home, like nobody got hurt, which was very lucky, very thankful, very whatever. But the 3 homes across the street all got hit with like exploded house, and they have been unfit to live in for the entire last 10 months. So just living next to the Torettos, aside from having loud family barbecues,
That's what I was gonna say.
and
Like,
having tuners like rev their engines rolling up and down every day, now a house explodes? Come on, people.
Yeah. I'm not for HOAs, but I'm like, can we get one? Can we have a problem house?
these neighbors are terror.
These neighbors are terrible. They keep revving their bikes, and I keep having to clean up blown up house wreckage, and I'm unhappy.
Oh, Rachel would be so mad if there was just like a bunch of tuners that were very loud that just like pulled up to this house like multiple times a day and then like revved off like they do in the thing. She would be very,
Like,
very
I have
annoyed.
a garage near me, like around the corner, and there are people who have 2 motorcycles, and they're like once a week they like take them out for a joyride, like on Sunday, and like just them like the 5 minutes of them like getting in, getting out, and like just like idling while they figure out where they're gonna go. Like I'm like, guys, let's get it on. Like I'm tired. Like
Move.
it's loud.
I can hear it. Yeah.
Well, okay, here's my little saving grace though. I think it would be very different if I knew that the Toretto extended family invited everybody over for all of the like grilling,
Like a block
meat
party.
things. It was like always a block party. Like everyone come over, we're all family. But like, okay, we're all in it together. But no, they seem very insular.
The one guy got shot right in front of their house by the other gang.
Yeah,
The
Jesse
first
dies
one.
right in front of the
Jesse
house.
dies
Yep.
right in front of the house. It's like their neighbors are like, "Oh, the guns like shut up the place."
Yeah.
Leisha and I have neighbors who always rev their bikes and are currently doing something TBD to their backyard that involves a backhoe, a bobcat, and a lot of gravel. So we feel this deeply because bright and early it starts, about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you hear that bobcat start up. And we're both like, yeah, it's happening!
It is. So yeah, I think I would be less irritated by them as neighbors if it seemed like they were also good neighbors.
I mean, we do know from a story that Dom tells
I was gonna
that
say
his
this, go
dad
ahead.
invited
Yep.
everybody who went to church could come over to after church the family barbecue. So I would assume that because the way that Dom speaks so reverentially about his father, he probably kept up, maybe not the church element, but he probably kept up the like, hey, we're having a barbecue. Everybody who wants to come over can come over. He feels like the kind of guy who like will feed the town if the town needs to be fed or wants to
And
be
there
fed.
was a
Right?
lot of people in the house, in that house party.
It's true. That's true.
Meets Mia.
I don't want to pick on Paul Walker for obvious reasons because this is the movie where he passed away, but there is a line when they're in the cars, jumping out, driving out, getting parachute guided to the ground out of the plane. And he says, and I quote, I wrote this down, just when you didn't think it could get any better, huh?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what you're saying. And it's like,
Yep.
oh, you thought that was crazy? Now it's even crazier. But like, just when you didn't think it could get any better, it's like, no, like I didn't, what? No, that's like a weird double, like there's a double negative in there somewhere. And I don't know what's happening. It just feels like it's close. And when you're in the theater, you're like, hell yeah, like this is awesome. And then like, I'm just, wait a minute. Just when you didn't think, because it's just when you thought it couldn't get any. I guess it's right. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, but the placement of the negative, just when you didn't think, I'm like, this is a weird way to say this, man.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand, I think. With like the reason I don't like it, or I was a little like, oh, really, about that line was, I think it's supposed to go hand in hand with the, he doesn't miss the cars, he misses the bullets line from earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
They're talking, and then it's the whole like, oh, I never thought I'd see myself behind the wheel of a minivan, and he's there and he's pretending he's in his car, but then we pull out and surprise, it's a minivan, and it's like, what? Like he can't enjoy taking his kid to school? Like he misses when he got bullets like directed in his way, and he's really excited to like do this thing, and it can't get any better than this. Or you just, when you didn't think it could get any better, here I'm about to do this insanely dangerous thing.
Father, like he has a family to support. Is there like Dom's crew offering life insurance if he dies and Mia's gonna raise these kids?
I don't know. I don't think that they're offering life insurance. I don't think that Torettos Marketing Cafe has like employee benefits.
They don't have an after.
Dental. They don't have dental for sure.
Leisha, what else about this movie? Is there stuff about this that you are not crazy about? Is there stuff here that you do not love, that you're like, kind of, not ideal?
I think actually with the answer I just gave, is a good little segue into that. The thing that I don't like about this movie is the same thing that I don't like about many of the movies, and that it is kind of Toxic Mask version, but light about things that dudes should be into. Like, he's got a family now, so how sad for him then. Now he has to drive around a minivan because minivans aren't manly. And
right.
Like, to be fair, minivans are gigantic. I would not want to drive a minivan because there's way too much car for me. It's way too big. I don't want to drive a minivan either. But it's because I don't have any experience doing it, not because I have a, gendered view of what a minivan is. So it's kind of all of those little things of, oh man, I feel so much better now that I get to risk my life all the time and do these really like assumedly hyper-masculine things. Mm-hmm. Even though there are women and all sorts of other people in these movies that also do cool stuff, but they specifically kind of aim it at the Brian character about everyone feels sad for him. And I really think that just kind of like perpetuates a lot of squicky stuff.
I get it.
And they could have symbolized a lot of that differently without, I don't know. When they consulted me, I was not in the writing room when they talked about how they were going to.
Well, I feel like we've talked about this. We haven't talked about this in a while, but I feel like for a franchise that is as representative as it is, we've complained a lot on here about that the queer visibility is not as good as it should be. That they have so many different races and ethnicities and whatever. The queer element of this all is not very good. Even though the first movie is so like its predecessor in Point Break is so firmly rooted in a sense of homoeroticism that there is a real viable path here to buck, like you're saying, buck gender trends and gender norms and like what is masculine, what is feminine, what is acceptable, what is cool, what is not cool. And if he like leaned into and embraced it, like that's kind of cool too, right? Like they've sort of set the path for them to do this, and they don't.
Yeah, they just don't really go for it, and I feel like they could just go for it and let Brian be unhappy about the pace that his life is now without including all of the, because of, you have a family now. It's like, it just feels both like they love the family that he has because that's what the end goal for every guy is, I guess, is to, one day, sorry, our cat is destroying something. One day, have like a family and slow yourself down on purpose, but that's sad because it's the death of another part of your life. And it's like, you can enjoy life and also have a minivan and a family. You can do all of those things.
Yeah.
And the time that they do like kind of shelf Brian with the like Mia leaves him at home to babysit is only because because Paul Walker was dead,
Yeah.
not because like that's like part of the story, right? Like it feels like, oh, okay, like cool. They were like Brian's babysitting and like he's fine being home with the kids on this one, but not really. It's just like we didn't want to CGI Paul Walker into this, so like we brought Mia back and left Paul Walker out of the storyline and just threw that line away to make sure that like we had a reasoning for it.
I mean, I think that vibe is really the only thing about the movie that really just doesn't sit well with me every time I watch it. I don't know. Basically, it's just fun and explosions and cool card tricks and.
I mean, we tried to watch it last night, and like I was doing the dishes, and I just hear Leisha go, "Oh my god!"
I forgot about some.
Yeah, that was the part where Brian jumps off the bus and lands on the back of the car, and Leisha's like, "I'm not in the mood for this tonight."
Yeah, I couldn't turn off the no way that would ever happen in real life part of my brain, which I think you definitely have to do when you're watching these movies, because they like had him like hanging off the back of this bus, and then he like climbs up the front of the bus, and then he runs the length of the bus as it's falling, and Michelle Rodriguez like basically drifts around to give him more space to grab onto the fin of the spoiler of the car. And then he rolls off and onto the ground. I'm like, no, his arm would be dislocated and in 8 different pieces. Like, and then he gets up and he's like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good today. So,
yeah,
there is something it's similar-ish, or what you just said reminded me that in the end of 6, when there's the world's longest runway and Giselle sacrifices herself to save Han, and they're having a celebration because Dom has survived and everybody's happy, and then they go, where's Giselle? And Han's like basically crying, right? She's like, oh no, she's dead, she's got whatever. In this movie, Dom is at the top of the mountain. He's got that combination between strong and fast, and he has Ramsey in the passenger seat with the helmet on, right? And they go down, and the whole group goes up to him, and they're like so excited. They're so happy, and he's grinning from ear to ear, this real shit-eating grin, like he just survived, like he did this thing, he escaped, it's great. And they're like, and they literally say, hey, where's Ramsey?
yeah,
And like, it's played as a joke.
Unconscious in the car.
It's played as a joke when like the last movie that just came out, you did the same thing as like this emotional moment, which is like, hey, where's Ramsey? And like, she's fine, but it's just like, you can't do the same thing twice in a row. Like, that's a weird, like, yeah, where is she?
Yeah, that's mirroring in this really strange way of a thing that they've already, like you said, a thing they've already done. But here's the creepy part is I just remembered too, because I had that thought while I was watching it last night. Like, you can see her, like when he crawls out, you can see Ramsey
visible.
still like strapped into the car and obviously unconscious. Like she's not the focus of the, like, obviously the camera is focused on Dom's face or like him crawling out, but you can see her in there unconscious in the car, and he doesn't like turn around to like let me get her out. He just climbs out,
make sure she's not dead,
or make sure she's not dead. I don't know, maybe we can fan wink it and say that he checked before he got out and just decided he wanted to get out of the car before, I don't know, trying to get her out too. But no, you're right, she's in there unconscious, and they come up and congratulate him.
Yeah, they just prop her up on like that
Yeah.
pier, and then when she comes to, she's like, "Who the hell are all these strangers?"
Yes.
Like, I think there's something to, like you were saying earlier, you don't like people screaming in these sorts, like you would scream, but you don't want like the characters to scream as well. Like here, it's this kind of thing. Like, I think you would be like, oh wait, like you would be so like, oh my god, I can't believe that he just survived this crash down the mountain. Oh wait, where is Ramsey? But like, we don't need that. Like, we don't need that kind of real life reflection in a movie. We can just be like, oh, Ramsey's okay too, or whatever, right? So
Yeah. Like, they so easily could have just had Ramsey crawling out the other side, or like, man, I can't believe we got through it. Like, it wouldn't, I think, have detracted at all from the scene for both of them to obviously, like, in the way that in PG-13 stuff, everyone, no matter how scary it looks, everyone just lives. Like you see people falling out, like falling somewhere, and then you see them safely landed or something like that. Like, all she would have had to do is climb out as well.
Or have
And that would have
somebody
been
run on
okay.
the other side of the track and crouch down to see if she's okay. Like, just something like they acknowledge there's another person in the car.
Joe, any other thoughts, any other notes about this movie?
This one feels a lot less heisty than the rest of them, especially now watching them side by side of heist movies.
Yeah.
Like, as I was watching it for, like, picking someone for my heist team, and knowing that, we steal a safe at some point. The like stealing Ramsey and stealing God's Eye, that doesn't feel as heisty as what I was used to. So like it was an interesting perspective this time watching it, being like, we're always like, oh, these are all heist movies. They're like trying to steal a thing, and like stealing a concept in a person felt like a little bit different. I guess you had to like get the chip from the car, so that
Yeah.
part felt real, but the rest of it, like stealing kind of ideas and stuff, is gonna get murky, and I'm curious to see how it plays out as we watch the next ones.
I have noticed some of the heistiness begin to go away. And I will say, I just want to backtrack a little bit and be like, I know maybe it sounds a little strange to say my favorite part of the movie was the cars, like the chase in the mountains over them driving. What car was it? Driving that car through 2 towers.
Oh, the lichen, yeah.
Yeah. I know that maybe it maybe feels a little weird that that's not my favorite scene, but I don't know. It was cool, but I feel like that feels less heisty than the chase because the car scene in the mountain is an actual chase to retrieve something.
Yeah.
The only other thing, and I think I want to talk about it a little bit more before we played a couple games to end the show, but I mentioned earlier Mr. Nobody, we think there's a possibility of becoming a villain. In this movie, before he gets shot, I mean, he has a bulletproof vest on, he winks at Dom, which I'm sure is just like a playful, like, hey, we're good. Like, he doesn't know he's about to get shot. But it felt, again, maybe I'm reading into this too much because I think that he might be evil. It felt kind of like weirdly sinister or like weirdly like, I know it's coming. And it was a weird thing. So, Leisha, I would love to know what you think. I know you're not really, just a guy, Kurt Russell. But do you think where he was in F9, like, they rescue that video footage of him saying that, like, his plane was intercepted, he's missing, Han's back, whatever. Do you think he could be a villain? Is he going to be good? Like, where do you fall on the Mr. Nobody of it all? Because I feel like that's our one kind of outstanding major question still left to be answered in these final 2 movies.
I think that Mr. Nobody is a villain of opportunity.
Okay.
Like, when things are not going to go in his direction, whatever direction he's decided they should go, then he's villain. If you are to serve his ends, then he's not the villain.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think that he knew what was going to go down in that warehouse. I think he knew that he was probably going to be shot. That's why he bothered to wear a vest at all. I think that he knows generally or like orchestrates a lot of things. Like he's kind of like if I put these two like people in the same place, things are going to happen and one of them will win, but whoever wins, I have enough sway that it'll work out for me.
So opportunistic, sort of neutrally aligned, mysterious, could go either way. Okay.
Yeah, he's like kind of like neutral evil. Like he doesn't really care to what ends his thing will go. As long as it goes his way, he doesn't really care. So he like for now we're buddies and he's not a villain because Dom and the fam are doing what he wants them to do, but the minute that they're at odds, he will bring all of the black box scary stuff down on them.
Yeah, like he could just be playing everyone against each other, and it's like, as long as he gets the outcome he wants, it's fine by him.
Yep.
Leisha, do you have any other notes, any other thoughts about Furious 7?
Just that I wish I had forearms big enough to break my own cast.
Me too.
I don't yet. I'm working on it, but one day we'll get there. I don't like drinking raw eggs though, so I don't think it'll happen very quickly. But one day maybe.
I got you.
Maybe that's the secret. That's why you can't break out a cast and your forearms aren't that big.
I know. I
so
gotta
you
be
drink raw
chugging
eggs.
some raw eggs.
Yeah.
All right, Leisha, do you want to find out which Fast and Furious character you are?
Yeah.
This is sort of like a personality style question with the most vague, not really informative questions and answers. So no worries, no pressure, no wrong answers here. There's 7 questions, 6 multiple choice answers per question. Mm-hmm. Are you ready to begin?
Let's go.
Question number 1, how fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Roller coaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 2, you know what's coming. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale in that one movie said that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
I'm torn because like I want to pick the one that I maybe actually do align with, but I just really like the Kylo Ren one, so I just want to say Kylo.
Okay.
I like Kylo Ren too, though.
I just look back. I want you to know, Leisha, and Michelle, I don't know if you remember, Michelle got Mr. Nobody. So I know that you're not, it's hard to trust somebody named Mr. Nobody, but you have married a Mr. Nobody. So just know who's living in your house with you. Like that's troubling.
That's concerning. You didn't tell me that, babe.
I think I did.
I mean, there's also a chance that you're Mr. Nobody here too. We'll find out.
Yeah,
So.
that could be. That could be.
All right, Leisha, we're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you on the grill? Are you saying grace? Are you kicking back with a beer? Are you babysitting? Are you being the entertainment? Or are you sneaking a snack?
I'm definitely on the grill.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Solid grill.
Number 4, you've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite? Are you working on your car? Are you hanging with friends? Are you drinking a beer? Are you working out so you get those swole forearms so you can break out of a cast? Or are you working on your computer?
Well, I really do want to break out of that cast, so let's go with where I'm working out.
Okay. Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married, which I hope is not the answer there because someone else is in the room with you, and I feel like that might be offensive, possibly. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
It's definitely just me and my partner.
Okay.
Which is what it was.
Yeah.
You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane. I'm gambling it all away. My childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life.
A fleet of cars.
Okay.
Ooh.
And the final question to determine it all, what is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just, Joe's getting a drink. Just get me one of whatever you're having.
It is the Belgian ale. It's the
Okay.
Belgian.
You are, I think we've probably had this character before. Let me just double check this. Yeah, we had one recently. You are Brixton. You are Idris Elba from Hobbs and Shaw. Leisha, you are ruthless, but that isn't a bad thing. Life is a struggle, and anyone who wants to make the most of it must be willing to make some tough choices to become the best version of themselves, like someone, for instance, who can break out of a cast with their forearm. You are constantly striving to do that, and it's your dream to see everyone else reach their potential too, even if people don't always know what's best for them. You are fiercely loyal to your beliefs and to the people who share them, and you believe that disloyalty is an unforgivable offense. Some people see you as too hardlined, but that's because most people are too weak in their resolve. It's not your job to think at their level. They should rise to yours, and you drive like the wind blows.
This is amazing. Can we just do away with like astrology and just have it be the what Fast and Furious
Absolutely.
character, right?
That would be wonderful. I would really enjoy that. Like I'm Brixton cusp, Dom. That's
Brixton. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, plus I get that really sweet motorcycle.
Yeah,
you're a.
that is sort of a transformer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the transforming motorcycle.
I'm a Mia Rising.
Yeah, I'm a Han Sun, I'm a Brian Moon, and I'm a Mia Rising. Mhm.
Mia Rising. That's so great. I love it.
All right, we have one more game to play. It's called This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So this is where we go on twitter.com, a.k.a. the Bird app. Find any tweet from someone tweeting about these movies and respond to them from the @TooFastTooForever account on Twitter. Now, I already have your tweet, Leisha, because Michelle sent it through to me. But, Joe, find one while I review last week's picks. So, last episode, we did Tokyo Drift with Alex Jacobs of Racer Trash. I found Clover, 4-leaf clover, at Konadasu. It's been 16 years since Shumabuki Satoshi on the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift has been exceedingly handsome guy. And it was a gif of him starting the race, and we said, let's get exceedingly handsome guy back in the franchise. Bring him back in Fast X. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Of course not. Nothing. Joe, you found Kelsey Jaffer. Here's a troubling thing, Joe. Kelsey Jaffer sparkle emoji hiatus. So she went on hiatus since our last episode.
Maybe we caused her to go on hiatus.
At Kelatonin, I have now watched
She's
the
catching up.
first, second, and third Fast and Furious movies. One of their biggest takeaways is all these men just secretly want to kiss each other really badly. We said we agree there's a lot of sexual tension in these movies, and it's never heterosexual. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Kelsey Jaffer was like, I gotta get off Twitter. This is crazy. I'm
in too
done.
deep. I said, or she's like catching up on the movies and in our show.
Maybe.
So she needs to take a break so she can fully focus on those two things.
This is interesting. Why did Alex found some emoji. I don't know what this emoji is. Maybe it's a necklace or a bracelet or something. At TJX Lamar, Tokyo Drift is easily the best in the franchise, and it's a quote tweet of something that we can't see anymore, so they must have blocked us. The one we responded to did not. And we said, easily. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Got 2 likes, but from Simo and Mike Manzi. They do not count. As much as we love them, they do not count. So swing and a miss, 0 points across the board. Game is very difficult, Leisha. If you don't get any points, it's totally fine because it is radically difficult to do this. But Joe, please hit us with your tweet for this week.
So I found a multilingual tweet that I had to use Google Translate to get.
Okay.
But it's from flower emoji at Rianne Minese, Rianminese, and the translation.
It's probably Ryan.
Yeah, probably Ryan. I would guess. Maybe, yeah. But Ryan was asking for recommendations on Netflix from what I grasp, and somebody recommended the Fast and the Furious series, and he says, oh my god, star eyes emoji. I already watched all of them. Biggest Fast and Furious fan because of my parents, so I got curious at first. Then I liked it so much, I always watch them. Until now, we still watch. Boy, Ryan, do we have a podcast for you. I just want to say, your parents sound like the coolest, and we have a podcast for you and them.
Okay. Leisha, can you please read us the tweet that you found that I'm going to respond to?
Yeah, hold on. I don't. I don't actually have a Twitter.
Yeah, you plug
Sorry.
Twitter.
I can put it in the chat. If you click, you might be able to see it just if you click this link. We'll find out. You're right to not have a Twitter.
I had one, and then I realized that I only had it to follow food trucks when that was a big thing, and then I just...
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, totally fine.
The one that I found is basically like a little construction. It's like a little construction symbol, and then it's Elena Ubar TM at BRB or Burn BRN. The tweet is, this is the wildest toy I've seen in a while. The Toretto estate and diecast 1 to 87 scale for $27.99, and it's this adorable little cute diecast Toretto house.
I want this so bad.
It's actually pretty sweet, and the most liked reply to it is the only thing missing is the bucket of Coronas. So that is the tweet that I have found.
So how would you like us to customize? We're going to respond to them with a link to the show, but how would you want us to respond to Elena with this? Just, we want this too, or what do you want to say to maybe encourage them to engage with us?
Unfortunately, the discourse that we've had on this particular podcast is primarily about how irritated those neighbors must be.
Oh, so we could do a thing like, yeah, but where's all their grumpy neighbors who are upset that the house blew up on them?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Are we going to share those Coronas with the neighbors? I don't know.
This is the most niche, specific, this is either going to work like gangbusters or not at all. Yeah, but what about all their ostensibly grumpy neighbors who have to deal with 1327 blowing up on them after Deckard's bomb goes off in Furious 7? More than a podcast for you.
Beautiful.
I love it.
They're going to be like, what?
What?
The fuck are they talking about? Yeah.
We're going to come back next week. Olna Obar, hiatus.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have time to deal with this shit. Okay. I found 2, one of which I liked, and one is just, I'm not going to count for my points, but I found at Quinn Ant ranking the Fast and Furious films, and he goes from top to bottom 5, 7, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 8. So not totally dissimilar. He got, the same top 2 as Leisha, different order. But I'm just going to, like this and just hit him with the beady waffy. But that's not the tweet I'm going with. I'm going to go with Jacob Wilkinson at Ghostwood GG. So yesterday,
Yes.
the different account, Alexi Toliopoulos, maybe, at This Is Alexi, created a letterboxd thing a list that says franchises that have multiple films with the same exact title. So there's 3 Halloweens on there, 2 Halloween 2s, 3 Shafts, 2 Scream, and there's a little bit back and forth. And Joel Dusher says, how do you feel about the Evil Dead and Evil Dead? Does the ruin it? And Alexi says, thinking about it, was thinking of the Fast and Furious and Fast and Furious. And then, who I'm going to respond to, Jacob Wilkinson. Jacob comes in to save the day. Jacob goes, every FF movie has a GD banger of a name. Do you think dropping the thes would be as good as it could be naming a sequel? But they did Fast 5 and Furious 7, which is Fast and Furious 6 in the middle. Now they're calling them the Fate of the Furious and F9, the Fast Saga. And the second tweet, the absolute refusal to commit to a naming scheme is just incredible.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
So, very cool. I'm going to respond to Jacob just saying, Jacob gets it.
Yeah. Yes.
These names make no sense. These names make no sense, and that's why we love them. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Beautiful.
Yes, they do.
Well, Leisha, thank you so very much for joining us.
you.
I was so glad that you could join us after we had sort of a missed connection last time. We love talking to Michelle, but I'm glad we could talk to both of you now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we did not talk about The Purge, but thank you for coming on to talk about Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it was a really great time, and thanks for having me on.
Is there anything that you would like our listeners to know about? Anything that you want to plug? Anywhere people can find? I know you're not on Twitter, but or if you want to just be a mystery online, that's totally fine too. But I'm gonna let you say whatever you want to say. What do you want to plug here at the end of this episode?
I have nothing to plug. I'm just I wish family and Coronas for everybody. I don't know.
That's a beautiful sentiment.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. One little complaint. They
Okay.
never Corona is definitely infinitely better with the lime. They never have limes in them.
It's true.
Do you ever? I think in Japan they sell them with like a little packet of lime juice, like attached to the neck.
So they're importing their Coronas from Japan.
No. I was just saying, like,
Yeah.
I like that idea, and it comes in like like a little squeezy Heinz ketchup packet, and you
Yes.
can just like rip the top off and dump your lime in. I think that needs to be established in more places.
I agree. Agreed.
Joe, our episode next week is Den of Thieves, which I'm going to see where that is. It's a couple
I
years
don't know
old.
what that
it's,
is.
It's a great movie.
It's a couple years old, so
It's
it's not like
2018. It's not that old. It's on
Okay.
Netflix. It's
Okay.
It's very long. It's like 2.5 hours long.
okay.
I think it's really good. The people who I follow on Letterboxd do not think it's very good, but I think it's very good. So
Interesting.
I'm interested to see what you think of it.
Who's in it? Who's the main actor?
We got Jerry Butler, who is not necessarily the sign of a great movie, but Gerard Butler's in this. We got Dawn Oliveri. We've got O'Shea Jackson Jr., a.k.a.
Oh,
Junior
nice.
Ice Cube. We got Pablo
Yep.
Schreiber, a.k.a. Porn Stash from Orange is the New Black. We got 50
cool.
Cent.
50? 50's in it?
50's one of the stars of this movie, man.
That's fucking okay. I'm sold. You don't say no more. Say less.
The only movie this guy has directed is this movie, and then the only other thing on his thing is Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, which I don't know if and when this is coming out, but
What does Pantera have to do with it? Like the band?
I have no idea. It must mean something. I don't know. But next week, Den of Thieves coming at you, available to stream on Netflix. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com and our store at TooFastTooForever.shop. And come back next week for Den of Thieves. Is it good? Is it bad? Am I losing my mind? Is it actually bad? I think I bought this movie, which again, I know I've said does not necessarily mean a lot, but
Nah.
I liked it enough to buy it. So we'll find out next week in our Heist Lab as it continues. Also, again, remember, vote in the Too Fast, Too Forever Hall of Fame. You have 2 more
Yes.
weeks to vote. We're going to announce
Yep.
that in 2 weeks. So you have until about August 2nd-ish, maybe, to vote. So go vote, please. And thank you at cageclub.me/bracket. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
and that was Leisha Suggs, and in the background, Michelle Farley. And we'll tell you all about it
When we see you